The final game on our list was the Sunday night prime time matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins took this one 16-10. Kenny Pickett, last play of the game, it came down to him and a tough interception it was a great interception from the Miami Dolphins standpoint. But the Dolphins hold on 16-10 to his first game back, though. Aaron, 21 of 35, 261 and a tutty for Tua in his debut, in his return back from that tough injury. How did he look? How did this offense look? And what are your takeaways from that side of the ball?
Yeah, they came out blazing, right? They got off to a really good start down the field. Kind of what I expected from Tua, but then they sputtered a little bit. I thought it was good for Tua. I thought he played well for the most part. He had some errant throws that probably should have been picked off, but I really wasn't looking for Tua to come out and like have this offense really humming, and he did early. And they had to settle for some field goals instead of getting in the end zone, and that kind of came back what you wanted to see. You want to see how comfortable he was. Was he going to play tentative? And I don't think he played tentative. And I think that was the biggest takeaway was, okay, is Tua comfortable enough to not be scared to take a hit? And he showed that he wasn't. He did talk about being smarter on the football field, maybe throwing the ball away a little bit more, not taking, and then he put his head down and tried to run somebody over. So I didn't get that. But that's the football mentality, right? You just can't get away from that's the kind of person he is. So I was impressed with that. I thought so much credit should be given to the Steelers and their adjustments after those first couple of drives. I thought defensively, Brian Flores and what Mike Tomlin did defensively was pretty impressive because I thought they were going to get ran out of the building. But the Dolphins, I think they got their guy back. I think you could see it. The running game seems to be working out with Raheem Mostert. They found their guy, at least for now, until he's hurt.
Yeah.
And it's working. It's working. He's winning. And again, we talk about Tua, the opposite of Justin Herbert. It doesn't always look the prettiest, but he's the one finding ways to win games. And he doesn't have the big names on defense like the Chargers have. He doesn't have the special talent that the Chargers quote have at quarterback. But he's the one who's coming away and finding ways to keep his team in it and leading drives late and winning games. And that's what, to me, is more impressive. You just saw the energy was different for the Dolphins with him than with Skylar Thompson or with Teddy Bridgewater. I truly believe this team believes in Tua and they like his leadership ability. And the Dolphins, I told you this before the week, I feel like they're back. I feel like they're back to being that team that can beat anybody in the NFL on any given day. And they'll continue to win some more games and have some success.
Yeah, and this game was 16-10 at halftime. The game finished 16-10. The second half combined from both teams, 10 total punts from both teams total, a turnover on downs, and 2 interceptions, both coming from Kenny Pickett late in the game, or around that late in the game time, the one coming at the very end. What was your assessment from Kenny Pickett and yet another start for him? Obviously, he returned as well. He was concussed last week, but he returns 257 through the air, 2 tutty, 3 interceptions, 32 of 44. Overall assessment for him.
It's crazy because everybody's going to look at the 3 picks and go crazy. And you can't turn the football over, but that's what young quarterbacks do. You saw it last year with Trevor Lawrence, threw a ton of picks. That's what they do. I actually, and this is going to shock a lot of people, I love what I'm seeing from Kenny Pickett. I wasn't a big fan of Kenny Pickett coming out, but I like his aggressiveness. I like the way he wants to push the ball down the field, and he'll take shots to Pickens and Deontay and Claypool. And there's something there. Like there's a quarterback in there that can be good in this league. It's going to be about developing him, getting him to understand coverages, know when to be smart with the football. That's development. They need to make sure they have the right coaching to mold that. But he has the ability. He does have it. So I was impressed. I'm more disappointed than anything out of the Pittsburgh Steelers is in Najee Harris. Is it the injury? I hope. I don't say hope it's injury, but I hope that's why he's so inefficient.
You hope there's an excuse to why he's been so bad.
My internet. I hope that it's an injury because he's so inefficient as a runner. And we can blame the offensive line and all that stuff, but I just watch him. It's like, I'm going to say it again, and I know you hate this. Is it this Alabama thing? Like, it's Brian Robinson, They look inefficient as running backs. Like they're not. They
let's
don't.
just let's
The big physical guys. It's not like when Josh Jacobs came out. He's not a big physical guy. Like it's these big physical running backs that Alabama.
Which one is it? I mean, during our Raiders conversation, you did just say that these are two big physical backs between Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce.
No, let me clarify when I mean big physical. I mean body frame. Not Dameon Pierce is not a big guy. Like he's a bowling ball. he's a. I mean the way they run. Like he run. Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce run hard. Najee Harris is more from the cloth of Derrick Henry style. He's a big guy, but he doesn't run like Derrick Henry runs with a physicalness. Najee Harris doesn't run like that. Brian Robinson doesn't run like that. They don't run with like, I'm putting you on your ass every time. And so what happens is they're thumpers. They're just, 3 yards and a thump on the ground, 3 yards and a thump on the ground. And to me in the NFL, that doesn't work. It's something we've seen over and over again. And this is why we had the argument about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Najee Harris fantasy value. And obviously I was wrong with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's kind of being whatever. But this is why I went away from it. Like Najee just doesn't do anything when he touches the ball. Are you ever worried about Najee Harris taking one to the house or ripping one off for 30 yards? I'm never worried about that. I always see him running. I'm like, yeah, he's maybe 10 max. Like he just doesn't have that dynamic playmaking ability. And that's what they drafted him to be. When you draft that high of a running back, I don't say you waste a pick, but that's really what it is. Cause you could have found this guy in the 4th round that does what Najee Harris is doing. And that's bothersome to me because you were invested in like a high pick and you're not really returning that value. And I know the offensive line's not great, but they need more out of that running game. And Jaylen Warren looks like the more explosive player. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm giving him the ball more. And I know you don't want to do that because it's a 1st round pick, but Jaylen Warren looks more explosive when he touches the ball. He just does.
I think it's something to be said. The conversation to me about comparing, like talking about Najee Harris and everything, I think the biggest thing, it's the conversation about the miles on the tires. And you brought that up in one of our arguments in the past, talking about the miles on the tires of these running backs. And it's not so much about the school of Alabama being like what they have in the system of it. It's about the workload that they got in college. I mean, you look at Josh Jacobs and how successful he's been. He didn't have as much work at Alabama as Najee Harris did.
Because it wasn't
look at Dameon Harris. Well, as what I'm saying though is the miles on the tires of the guys that are successful, like that matters. Like that matters here.
I agree, but we're only in year 2 of Najee Harris, and I get that he had a lot of carries in college. But the reason those college guys like Josh Jacobs don't get a lot of carries or Dameon Pierce is because they weren't those guys in college. They weren't the guys that was going to carry the ball 25 times. Najee Harris was. So Najee Harris comes out as a guy you're thinking, in the NFL, it should translate. The problem is in the NFL, you're not running over guys that are 3 times smaller than you when you play Western Tennessee State. Alabama only plays UGA once a year. And guess what happens? Usually it's harder for them guys to have numbers. He gets to go play these fluff teams every year that aren't NFL linebackers, that aren't NFL D linemen. He runs those guys over. He can juke those guys at his size because they're not fast enough to guard him in college. Those college players aren't even making it to the league half the time. When you come to the NFL, those are all dudes on the other side of the ball. You have to be explosive. The number one thing that gets on my nerves is we will sit here every week, not you, but the world, and say, Tony Pollard needs the ball more in Dallas because he's more explosive. And Zeke, I will admit, he's not as explosive as he once was. You can't give Zeke, expect him to get 20 carries for 150 yards anymore. You need Tony Pollard and those explosive runs. So why do we do that with the player who's proven to be great, but we won't do it with the second-year guy who's having the same issue? He looks like he's a plotter, a guy, if you need short yardage, you go give it to him. It's not what we need. We need explosiveness. Get Jaylen Warren more involved. If we want Tony Pollard to be involved more, Jaylen Warren needs to be touching the ball 10 to 12 times a game. They don't have any dynamic playmaker coming out of the backfield, and they have a ton of great receivers, and this offense has failed to score points because of that, not having that dynamic. I will die on this hill. the running back by committee thing is stupid to me if you have a dude. If you don't have a dude, if you don't have Nick Chubb in your backfield or Christian McCaffrey in your backfield or Dalvin Cook in your backfield, then everybody that can touch the ball that's explosive should touch the ball. I don't care. That's why I like the Chiefs, what the Chiefs are doing. They don't have a dude. So what if it's McKinnon? So what if it's Pacheco? So what if it's Clyde? It doesn't matter. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers think Najee's their dude, they need to reevaluate and assess that, because the fact of the matter is he's not. He's not that guy that you're giving the ball to 20 times and he's going to come at the end of the day and have 150 yards. It might not ever happen. You may not ever see a really that type of game from Najee Harris because he doesn't have that explosiveness.
As of right now, where it stands, Najee Harris is averaging 3.3 yards per carry. That's 51st in the NFL. There are some other big names around him, though. Joe Mixon's right ahead of him, and Joe Mixon have the same yards per attempt in 3.3, but it's still 51st in the NFL. Definitely not good, especially with a rookie quarterback. That's the other thing here. You want to be able to have an effective running game with a rookie quarterback, and especially with a rookie quarterback who has shown good signs of being able to get it to his receivers and make plays. Shout out George Pickens, 6 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown in this game. He's looking like a very good prospect as well for the Steelers, but they have to get that running game involved. They do fall to the Miami Dolphins here, though, 16-10. Steelers move to 2-5. The Dolphins move to 4-3.